Hello and welcome. I'm Patrick Curtis, your host and chief monkey, and this is the Wall Street Oasis podcast. Join me as I talk to some of the community's most successful and inspirational members to gain valuable insight into different career paths and life in general. Let's get to it. Another fun session giving career advice to the WSO interns. Enjoy. Okay, everybody, welcome to, I think this is the sixth weekly chat since the internship program started. Nabil is back from his long vacation. Just kidding, Nabil. Nabil, you were up in the mountains. What were you doing, camping?
Yeah, just camping stuff. I mean, looking at historical sites, all that stuff. Trekking, walking, yeah. Usual nature stuff.
I'm jealous.
Lucky though, so.
I haven't been camping in a long time.
Oh.
Mostly because I've had little kids, but I'm looking forward to getting back into nature. So everybody, if this is your first time kind of being on a weekly call, these are just really open sessions to allow you to ask questions, not just about the internship. If you have questions about the internship, we're here. Nabil can handle most of them, but also to answer questions any of you have on specific career-oriented questions, whether it's resume, interviews, networking, applications, mapping your career path, stuff like that. So I think if you can, we can start by opening it up. Nabil, maybe you want to talk a little bit about, there were some questions around like signature links and stuff like that in the bios or something in the actual articles. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh yeah, I think we had a lot of people come up and say, we want to link our LinkedIn or whatever profile on the site and say, hey, this article is written by so-and-so, and then connect it. I think, so yeah, we had the discussion. I think we could have a line at the bottom, which you could put at the end of every article saying researched and written by your name, and then a straight line, and then LinkedIn. I'll provide a sample on the group today. So all of you could start just incorporating that if you want to. I think that helps a lot to advertise to potential whoever that, hey, I've written these articles and there's actually proof, rather than like whatever it was before. So yeah, that's one thing.
I think it was a good idea. We have no problem doing it. I think it's a good idea to help give the interns even more value.
Exactly, yeah. So that's the main thing I think we decided on. Other than that, yeah, good job by everyone so far. We have a lot of new people starting this last week. So yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot of questions as well that we get to. So everyone's, it's going well. Like everyone's excited, doing a good job.
The team's definitely ramping. I see the hours ramping and the number of articles coming through. I know Josh is one of our main kind of preliminary editors. He's staying busy, so that means everyone's putting in a lot of good work. So I really appreciate all of you guys. Number one, helping out with this, but then also just coming here for this call. So still letting in more people. I think Vinay just joined. Welcome. Aditya is joining now. But yeah, we can open it up. Does anybody have any specific questions about the internship or just careers in general? And just for context, I'm in California. Nabil's in UAE.
Yeah.
Oh, Alvin's back with his wolf.
Hello.
Hey, Alvin. I always know who you are because of that picture.
Exactly. That's my trademark.
Hi, Vinay. We got a couple more people joining. I'm starting to lose track. It's starting to grow. But that's good. So yeah, does anybody have any questions around the internship itself? How's it going for everybody? And is there any way we can be helpful with that or with specific career questions? Go ahead, Alvin.
Yeah, so I started my internship 2 days back this Thursday, and right now I'm working on my first task. So I had a small question, like let's say we have 1 week. It's like 15 hours minimum for 1 week. So how many tasks are we expected to complete within these 15 hours? Like, is there a specific benchmark or how?
Good question. Yeah, Nabil, you want to cover that?
Yeah, no specific benchmark, but from what we've seen, it takes like for the shorter articles like 3 to 4 hours for writers. Once they're like a little more seasoned, the first article's probably going to take longer, and then it gets shorter. Then you have the long ones, which take like anything from 4 to 6, 7 hours. So it depends, honestly, and it depends on which topic you take. Then, like if you take the small ones and like keep doing them, it's going to be like real quick. Otherwise, it's going to take a little bit of longer time. And then based on that, like
in other words, if it's a super narrow, like definitional topic where like it's just what it is, and it's hard to like have too many subheaders, then yeah, that could eventually that's going to probably take you 2 to 3 hours. But initially up front, it'll probably take you 4 to 5 as you're getting used to it, and then even longer for if it's like a more complex topic that you choose.
Okay, so like since this is my first task, so by the end of like 15 hours, I should have completed at least like 2 tasks, I guess.
Yeah, ideally at least one if it's super long, probably 1.5, something like that. Yeah, I'd say 2 if they're shorter. Yeah.
The thing is, it's going to take a while when you go back and forth with Josh, because you'll be like, oh, some guidelines won't be followed or there's something that's missing. But then once you get a hang of all that, it gets much faster. That's how it works.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions? You guys can use the chat if you're being shy and don't want to unmute yourself. Sorry about the loud noises here. Anybody else? We had a crazy active session last week, so I'd be surprised if this week didn't have that.
How
about you, Colt? I think Colt's not muted, so that's why I picked on him.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Vinay.
Hi. So, sir, I started this internship from 1st of May, but due to my health issues, I didn't start it. So today I just look at the video in the that you have shown in the beginning that how to start the this internship. So I have a question that how one should select one topic. I mean, is there any flow of topic, or we just have to start from any topic? Like you started with the cash conversion cycle, or
Nabil, go ahead.
Yeah, you could pick any topic, to be honest, which is not assigned. You should probably pick a topic that you are a little bit familiar with for the start so that you can write on it properly. You'll have a good idea of how the flow goes throughout that specific topic. So if you like accounting, you pick something in accounting that interests you. If that's what you're asking. I don't know if I'm addressing that question correctly, or is it like, okay, it's about picking topics. And for the headers, the flow inside the content, like you'll get a hang of it once you write and then read it again, and you're like, okay, this makes sense or this doesn't make sense, whatever.
Yeah, in terms of your health, hope you're feeling better, but no problem to start. You can change your start date with Nabil. So just send in the date you want to start, and it's not a problem.
So is there any option to change the date?
Yeah. We could, I mean, just ping me on Slack with your new start date and I'll change it from my end.
Okay. I have.
All right, perfect.
Thank you.
Farouk, you want to ask your question? You have your hand up.
Hello, Mr. Patrick. Hello, Mr. Hanif. Yes. Hey, how you all doing?
Good.
Great. Yeah.
I feel really lucky to be a part of Oasis. Although my question would be like, can I work from like according to the Indian standard time, or it should be according to the US standard time?
Anything, man. I work from UAE, so like we have people from like across different countries and time zones. So whatever time works, as long as you put in those 15 hours per week. You could even do like 7 and 7 on the weekends, or you could spread it across the week. Depends on what works for you, honestly. So when I was working, I was putting in like only weekends. Didn't get much time during the week to work, so that's how I used to do it. But yeah, whatever works, honestly. Whatever time zone, yeah.
Okay. Can I add another question?
Sure.
Go for it.
Yes. So like the post name is Finance Research Analyst. After completion of this particular internship, which I believe it will be, it will add great weight to my resume. Apart from, Finance Research Analyst, what all other, posts I can work in, or what all other occupations I can apply for?
I think depending on what topics you write on, I think it could be helpful for a whole variety of topics. So if you do a lot of valuation work, or stuff around like financial documents and financial statements and evaluating companies, that's attractive to investment banking, equity research, even hedge funds, trading. It's pretty fundamental stuff you're going to need to know for all these types of careers. If you want to do something more like working in economics, economic consulting, for example, like at an LEK, doing more of the economic terms would probably be helpful. So, or if you want to go get your CPA, doing more of the accounting terms would probably be helpful. And go work at like a Big Four, for example. So it depends on which terms more you choose to how you frame your resume and which ones you highlight there. But I would say almost any career in finance, if you pick the right terms that are relevant, it could be helpful for that, because it's just building that resume, getting those keywords on your resume.
And what days we are off, and which are the optimal days on which I can work on, so that I can review all the documents at the right time.
So it's up to you how you schedule the 15 hours per week. So like Nabil said, he was doing it all on the weekends, because when he started, before I hired him full time, stole him from his company. But he was doing it on the weekends, and so we're not going to there's no penalty to doing it on the weekends or during 3 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Maybe that's what you want to do. So it's just up to you, whatever works best for your schedule. And then if you're doing a good job, then that's when we tend to make paid offers. So we just hired another person today, paid to help us with other projects in Wall Street Oasis from the same group here. So it's like, I think now we have 2 full-time hires and about 5-ish part-time paid hires from this group. From the group that started. So we continue to try to find great people who are hard workers and can help us, not just on this writing internship.
Mr. Curtis and Mr. Hanif, I recently qualified as a certified management accountant from the IMA, New Jersey. And I would like to know, how this is going to help me, because this is my first formal job which I am in. So I would like to know, how it's going to add, and how I'm going to add to this particular organization, and how this particular, internship will be able to, add value to my resume.
So I think you're asking about the CM certified. Do you know that designation?
CMA, right?
CMA.
Yes,
Yeah.
CMA.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I'm not very into the thing. I think it's mostly management accounting, right?
Yes. It's management, cost and forecasting, budgeting.
Exactly. Presentation, and then understanding how to save costs, all of that stuff, right?
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, while writing, you could write on topics like that, because economics should have some stuff there, accounting as well. Something, would go a long way. One,
managerial economics, FP&A type terms.
Yeah, FP&A. And
Okay.
so something you understand, which you could write on. I think you technically be an SME, at least you know a lot of stuff about those topics, so you could start writing there. And then if you want to learn, you could again write on topics you have interest on, which field you want to go in. Because I think CMA means you're looking for a corporate exit, right? Or what are you looking for in terms of career?
In terms
finance?
of career, initially I thought that I would be well equipped as an accountant, but the point is that if I choose to be an accountant, my growth will be limited. But if I personally believe that if I go towards FP&A and budgeting, strategy and forecasting, that would really add to my career. That's what I personally believe.
Right. So that's the thing. So then you'd have to look at topics that deal with that. We have a lot of them actually, because FP&A is a huge field. There's so many things like economies of scale, fixed costs, variable costs. You've studied, I'm sure you've studied all of those stuff. So you could just pick those topics and then write on it, and then there might be stuff you want to improve on, like while working in FP&A and stuff. Like you probably want exposure to other fields. Maybe you might not have like explored IB or like some other field. In that case, you could write on them. So
strategy as well. If you wanted to end up doing strategy,
oh yes, strategy,
consulting,
yeah.
Like there's lots of things you can learn there, like Porter's Five Forces and all the different frameworks that consultants use. There's probably terms there as well, I believe, right, Nabil?
Yeah, for sure.
I learned about investment banking first through the Wall Street Oasis Google Doc. Like there was a section which we have to elaborate what investment banking was. Then I felt that this is all CMA is about. So I thought maybe if I take this internship and I get through the courses or something like that, I can push myself towards investment banking. Would that be possible somehow?
Pretty tough. What school are you at? Where are you?
I am currently in Hyderabad, India.
Okay, and you have, first off, there's going to be visa issues, right? It's going to make it tough. So I don't know in terms of trying to land that. The accounting certification doesn't really necessarily help you that much. It's more about getting into the right school, being a finance or econ major and accounting major. And I know in Europe, specifically, if you were to go to school there, doing a 5th-year master's is pretty standard before going into your analyst years.
Mm-hmm.
So
right.
it's not that it's impossible. It's not that it's impossible. It's just going to be tough because of more visa issues if you actually want to go and work there. And there's also banks in India as well, right? So like you could just stay locally and try to do, So somebody just said Hyderabad has Goldman Sachs as a branch office, right? So
it depends. Again, in India, it's again the universities there, right? So if you get into the top universities, you do get into IBs there. So it depends more like certification. The thing is, when IBs or like Ps, whoever they go to hire, they go to the best schools rather than search for people with certifications, just because it just removes a lot of. It's easier for them to recruit from there. You don't want to. It's like a return on investment kind of thing. You don't want to sit with a lot of people and then, have to eliminate a lot of them. So they go to the best schools, find people who can talk well, can do the technicals well, etc. Who have done stuff, and then they hire.
And even being at the top school, it's a low acceptance rate.
Exactly.
So for you to say like, oh, I have this accounting thing, like they're not going to care if we're just being honest with you. Like it's nice because you actually probably learn something through it and it's relevant skills. So that's good. It makes it somewhat more attractive. But for banking specifically, and I'm not very well versed in the recruiting in India specifically. So I'm talking a little bit, but my guess is it's probably similarly competitive there, if not more.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Curtis. Thank
you
so much, Mr. Fahmy.
But hey, look, this internship, the goal is for it to help you kind of broaden, get you a lot of exposure. And the good news is with this internship, it will help you land more interviews, generally speaking, around careers in finance, not just banking, but equity research, valuation, associates, all that good stuff. So Brandon, you want to ask a question? It says Brandon has his hand up. Hey.
Is that my Brandon?
That's you.
Okay, cool. So, I just have like a few questions. One about the internship. If I'm writing an article and let's say like all the competitors their articles are all below like the 2,000 word mark, it would be reasonable to expect that mine will end up being below 2,000. Like I know the topic I'm writing about right now, I could probably make it like even 4,000, but I don't want to.
I think there's diminishing marginal returns to keep adding. I think the most important thing is that you're trying to have a balance between being thorough and being succinct. So I'll give you an example. So let's say you have something like cash conversion cycle, like the example that I did with Nabil, and you start talking about that's related to AP, AR, and all these other working capital stuff. You don't want to make the AR section, the accounts receivable section, like bigger than the accounts receivable article. Like there's other articles that are competing, right? So, but you have to talk about them, define them, give examples, all that stuff specifically around cash conversion cycle. So it's not like you just write as long as you can about everything somewhat related. It's more like, hey, try to keep it focused on that, give examples of that specific term and that specific topic, and then move on. And yeah, that's fine. If other people are like say the top article is like 600, 700 words, and there's a bunch of them like that, and you do like 1,000, that's fine.
It's specifically like, so obviously an acquisition I could write about, because that's the one I'm writing about right now. I could write that into like whatever length, but all the ones that I've looked up are in the ballpark of about like, I think 1,500. So
What's the
I don't want to
term? What's the term?
Acquisition, but just acquisition.
Oh yeah, it's pretty broad. It's a pretty broad term. So I can see how you could go
so
on and on and on. Yeah.
I could do like,
like what is an acquisition, or like, what's the
what is an acquisition, you know, or even like NPV of acquisitions and how to calculate that. Like I could make this endless list, but I don't think it would add value if I get too deep into it.
I think you're using Google there so when you type in, make sure, like another good hint to you of how broad to go is if you go to the sheet and you type in the word acquisition, if there's a bunch of other topics that are more narrow on acquisitions, you don't want to be like overlapping and writing whole articles within articles on there.
Yeah. I was going to ask one more thing on this really quickly. I noticed that in our spreadsheet, we don't have anything for explaining a stock acquisition or a cash acquisition. Those are probably really short pieces to write, but maybe they're like searchable terms that we might consider adding.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. Yeah, I mean, you can suggest it to Nabil and we can add those as rows.
Yeah, I think I did. I'm sure Nabil's busy, but I just wanted to make sure I got it out there.
Yeah, he just got back from vacation. He's drowning, so he's trying to catch up.
Oh, okay. Sorry, buddy.
No problem. I saw your message, so yeah, I'll add that.
Cool. Yeah, I just didn't know if it like went. I've never used Slack before, so I just didn't know if it went through. But and then yeah, now that I've done that, if I could ask some questions about, I had this like coffee chat recently, and I just had some questions about some of the advice I was given. So like, I don't know if this is true because it was pretty anecdotal, but like I was saying that like equity research, if I ever consider getting into that, they pull from like a slightly older pool than maybe like investment banking does. Like he said, a lot of the people on his team, he's at Desjardins, they're pulling like 29-year-olds on average. Is that like generally true? I have no idea.
It's a good question. It wouldn't surprise me because equity research tends to be like it's a much smaller kind of niche industry. And so they like to see like if there's an analyst, first of all, is like the senior part of equity research. So it's very confusing.
He was an associate, I should say, yeah. Yeah,
so equity research associate is like supporting the analyst. So it's a reverse of like the traditional front office investment banking, but it's so small and so specific and so niche, and there's so many like industry specific like knowledge and expertise you need. It wouldn't surprise me if it's older. So it's like you could work as investment banking for several years in like industrials, or let's say like consumer package, it's something kind of nichey, and then like that would be an attractive profile for the analysts covering those companies, right? And so, but you probably need to be working a couple of years, not going to be pulling you right out of undergrad with no experience. Now, I'm sure there are equity research associate programs that do pull out of undergrad, so I don't think it's like universal, but it wouldn't surprise me if it skews a little bit higher. I don't have data on it, but that doesn't surprise me. And I never worked in ER, but he's probably right somewhat. It
was one of the things I was looking at, because he was saying a lot of the firms people I've done coffee chats with recently are saying like they're now looking more into the MBA area, and very few, except for the big banks in Canada, are looking at undergrads at this point.
Yeah, so, it makes sense. I mean, I'd push you to go banking first anyways.
Yeah, no, for sure. I want to, but I think in the Canadian environment, what I've seen is it's quite possible to get straight into like PE or ER, and both are kind of interesting, if I'm being honest. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at. The other thing I was going to ask is, and then I'll let someone else have a turn, but in terms of like extracurriculars for if I wanted to get into this private capital market, are there any sort of extracurricular learning things that are like really well recognized, worth putting on a CV that I just haven't found?
Private market, like private equity type stuff?
Yeah, private equity or private debt.
Yeah, we do have a private equity deal process course that's coming out very soon. And so, and so I would absolutely save one of your credits as you go through these internship for that, because, well, it'll be an expensive course, but it's also going to be a super valuable course for anybody looking to understand like what an associate does in PE. So it goes everything from like NDA, non-disclosure agreement, all the way through funds flow. So like investment committee, IOI, LOI, basically all the steps that you take a deal through. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool course. So I would once that comes out, it's probably early June, about a month away. So I'd save a credit for that.
Yeah, I'll have some built up by then, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
Other than that, the LBO modeling probably is helpful, most helpful. And then specifically, like, I don't know, Nabil, any sort of like certifications, probably not. I mean, unless you're talking public markets, like buy side and CFA maybe, but.
Yeah. I'm doing like the CFA, but I've been told so many times by people at PE firms recently that it's just like, it's a check mark on a box, but they don't really care anymore.
Yeah, they don't.
All right. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for the question. Tanae said, hey, Patrick, Nabil, I had an idea for Wall Street Oasis and wanted to get your thoughts. Thinking we could add a quiz or two that could help users come to know more about themselves in regards to finance. Let's see. So you're saying add quizzes to the pages tonight? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Sounds interesting. I think it could be cool. Helps engagement. Question is, can we do it? Or how long it'll take the developers to allow us to do it. Yeah, it's a good thought. It's a good thought because these are resources. These are kind of like longer form instructional pieces. It'd be good to test their knowledge at the end, see if they actually retain the info. It's a great idea.
If you look online, I'm pretty sure there's a document from Rutgers, I believe, that has an investment risk tolerance quiz that we could adapt our quiz from. And I think that would improve user interactivity a lot more and get more use to the website to try it out.
Are you talking specifically that term, the investment risk tolerance?
I mean, that's the one that came up to my head right now, but I don't mind any other quiz as well.
Yeah. And so, sorry, you're breaking up a little bit. You're saying you can embed that quiz, or we could just use that to base our quiz off of?
We could use that to base off our quiz.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, we're open to that. I think it would be cool. It would add some nice depth to the topics. And I think, yeah, for sure. I think it just makes it better content. So we're always open to that. Making better user experience, better content. We're all game. Thank you for the idea. Ahmed said I'm having the same issue in Canada. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think if you scroll up. So
mentioned the description about Mr. Curtis providing referrals after we complete the internship. How does that particularly work? Can you explain a bit about that? Sure. So once the internship is completed, we'll make sure you have your credits. We'll send a congratulatory email, and then you can request direct connections through LinkedIn. So you can say, hey, you're connected to XYZ. Can you please introduce me to them? I'd love to have a chat with them and learn more about their job. So it's a networking connection. Usually, since it's coming from me, usually they'll say they'll agree and do me a favor to talk with you. I know I just put one of our other interns in touch with one of my mentees. So like there's plenty. I have over 30,000, or I have 30,000 connections on LinkedIn. So usually there's somebody in there that would be a good match to talk to. Hope that's helpful. Anybody else?
Yep. I think Colt had something, and then same person had something above.
Colt was asking about length.
Question, yeah.
Sorry, Nabil, can you answer that?
Yeah, I have one question regarding length. I understand and have experienced that some topics are hard to generate 2K words for, and I'm curious, any ideas or paths to increase overall word counts? I understand that as of now, some topics do not have to reach 2K as long as the word count is about 20% higher than a competitor's. Thoughts? Thoughts on how to generate? Not really. I mean, paths to increase topics would be covering something more in depth. One is just examples, like examples, because examples helps to explain stuff to the audience. Like for everything, if you have an example, it's just that much easier because you can illustrate how each of them works in real life, and that automatically adds to the word count. So examples under each header maybe, or like every one or two headers where you can explain a concept would be great. That's a natural way to add words. Other than that, honestly, just looking at Google, seeing if there are questions you have not answered, which you could answer related to your topic, that would be great. Something I've seen a lot of the interns do nowadays is adding an FAQ at the end. that's also pretty helpful. You could have an FAQ section about the topic and then have all the questions and answers. That adds words too. I'm just thinking, what else could you do? Um, I think that's. I mean, once you do this much, like you could easily be above what most competitors do anyway. So yeah, that's probably it.
Yeah, for example, my question kind of pertains towards asset acquisition, which was the topic that I was writing on. And while writing on that topic, I realized that I can go into a lot about asset acquisition, but it kind of pushes me towards various other forms of acquisition, and how I was structuring it, I guess. And I also mentioned the 20% one because in the Slack group, I recognized that, and I am about 40% above the competitive pages that I was kind of pulling from my information from. But I'm kind of at the point also where I feel any additional content, text or information might kind of peer on the edge of redundancy. And I just wasn't sure.
Yeah,
I
just
think
stop.
that's when you realize you've done a good job, to be
The
honest.
most important thing is that it's, if you were a reader coming to this page, would you find it helpful or not? Period.
Right. And I believe so. It's going to take a couple more read throughs to just to make sure, but I believe I'm at that point.
Perfect. And then I think you can call it and you can say ready for review. And then, or once you kind of go through the checklist, make sure you have what you need in there and then ready for review, and we'll get people on it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Nabil, did I miss any other questions?
There's one above. Hey, I have one question about careers and yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm interested in buy-side finance, and I just completed my first year in undergraduate. Wondering what all can we do on the side apart from academics that can help us in getting a good hold of how private equity, buy-side ER, or investment fund function? Like, what skills can a sophomore learn specifically that can help?
Reading a balance sheet, reading financials, writing research papers on places like, what was that, Alpha something, right?
Seeking Alpha?
Yeah, Seeking Alpha. You could have a thing there. You could have there are a couple of good places where you could have a portfolio, which definitely goes a long way if you're looking at ER, hedge funds, stuff like that. And if people see that you have a long track record of looking at stuff, probably
it's a little more public markets. So investment banker, are you talking about private equity, or are you looking at public markets at all? Nice word, nice name, investment banker. I don't know. I don't know if you're still here. Let's see. Are you still here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. Let's see if one new message. More on private equity. Yeah. So for that, I think taking our private equity interview course would be helpful. Taking the private equity deal process course we're about to release. Definitely do those. LBO modeling course, do those because it'll look good on the resume if you have those and you can specifically list out what you learn there. But to get into private equity, where are you located? I know you're in Canada. Okay, so I'm not as familiar with the Canadian market, but I know you can get in investment banking in the US or in Canada. The path to private equity tends to be much easier. And so many PE funds pull from IB. You can go straight. There are smaller funds that will pull. They have analyst programs now as well. So I think another thing you could really focus on is actually just making connections in the industry. So that means networking, especially at funds where they have analyst programs. So talk to other analysts that have kind of done what you want to do, have already made that path and done it successfully, and try to emulate what they did, try to learn more about what they did. My guess is going to be they talked to a lot of people. They were just super sharp. I mean, it's very hard to make the jump from undergrad to straight to PE. Are you at a target school? Are you at IB? Or any other target school in Canada? There's another one, Rotman, right? I don't know if you're very familiar with the Canadian target schools. Not really a tier 1.5, I would say. Yeah, so Rotman. So yeah. So I mean, all I'd say is, just make sure. A lot of people, especially young people, like freshman, sophomore year, even junior, senior, there's a lot of overconfidence going into thinking, well, I know all this stuff. I'm super smart. I have a high GPA. So like that job's waiting for me. In reality, it's not waiting for you. It's still incredibly competitive. You're going up against, for example, for you, you're going up kids against Ivy at Ivy. And guess what? The kid with the super high GPA at Ivy, a ton of those are also never landing the job they want and they're getting rejected. So keeping that in the back of your mind, not to be overconfident, to stay humble and to realize like how long of a path it may be to get to where you want to go and be willing to put in that work goes a long way. Yeah. So to actually realizing that. But yeah, I would also try to be a little more focused. Buy side's huge. So like try to be, you know, if you decide banking is the right path to get to private equity, definitely don't be in your interviews saying, I really want to go buy side.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to see you as a flight risk, and they know you're going to leave after like a year or so, and peace out, and then they had to fill that seat again. So remember, banker for life. That's all you just got to say. I want to be a banker for life. McGill, Ivy, UBC, HEC. Yeah. It says IB is fascinating and horrifying at the same time. Thanks for the response, though. You're welcome. Yeah, IB is fascinating and horrifying. I'll just say there's such a dearth of demand for junior resources right now that you're all in a good spot if you show knowledge. This internship puts you in a great spot to get interviews. So really improving your ability, your skills in interviews, is super important. And the way you get good at interviews is just talking to a lot of people, and that's networking, and that's the same skill set. Talking about your story, why you want to go investment banking, why this specific bank, all that stuff that you know you're going to get asked, not having a generic bullshit answer in the interview or in the networking calls will go a long way to actually getting interviews and making it past the first round and getting to the final rounds, to the super days. Any other questions? Yeah, people are already landing IB internships for 2023. I don't know how the hell does that work. It works because there are target schools. They got in on-campus recruiting and they get hit up. It doesn't mean you have to give up. It just means I'd start, networking. And so when people say like, what do you mean networking? Well, LinkedIn, it's funny because I see people, I've been networking so hard, and then I look at their LinkedIn real quickly. And I see like 35 connections or something, and I just start laughing because like you can send out 100 connection requests a day, and it takes maybe an hour to do. So like, why wouldn't you be sending out 100 connection requests a day to people who are in the industry you want to be in, just to try and build that? Even if it's a very weak connection, what happens is as you start building that network, suddenly other people who are looking to connect to you or not, they see that you connect with 200 or 300 other people in IB. So you're like, oh, well, they're all connected to him, so I'm going to connect to him or her too. Click, and your response rate will start going up. What would you say is a good number of connections on LinkedIn? I'd say for an undergrad, getting up to a couple thousand, you should be able to get a couple thousand pretty fast. Sounds crazy, but like if you're sending out 100 a day, you should be getting like 10 a day, 10 new connections a day. So do the math, that's 500 in a year. Right. So yeah. So tonight, that's the whole point. Like, what's the downside? It's so fast to send a connection request on LinkedIn. All you're doing is you're building a very weak connection, admittedly, but it takes you like 15, 20 seconds. So if like you start doing that, the goal of those, by the way, is not just to make a bunch of connections, weak connections. The goal is then to take those weak connections that turn into connections. You get their email off of their profile. You start creating a spreadsheet. You can start sending mail merges to those people, basically saying, hey, I'd love to have a blah, blah, blah. Here's, I will go to this school, I do this. I'd love to actually hop on a call for, 5 minutes, whatever time is good for you, whenever's best for you. Nabil, do you have something to add?
No.
No, I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, no.
So
that's how it works. Yeah. Just having the sheet. We have a template as well, right? Where we have that Rolodex kind of thing on Excel where people can just say, when was the last time you responded? What's the status of the connection? Is it cold? What is it? Is it warm? And like every once in a while, you gotta You got to respond. Yeah.
And this is where having a background in sales is really helpful. You can think of like trying to get a job as selling yourself. And so when you think of like a funnel of like, if someone's only sending 5 connection requests a day and they think they're doing a good job, their top of funnel is this big. So what's the odds that somebody's going to actually accept the request, actually get on a phone call, actually get them a first round interview? It's tiny. But if your funnel suddenly goes like this at the top, yeah, it's going to get super narrow, but there's going to be you're probably going to land a few interviews from that. Do you think it would make sense to randomly send a request to people working in your industry and ask them for a conversation? Absolutely. I know it works from over a decade of experience. There's people who want to help. Many of them won't want to help you. 95% of the people probably will never respond, or 90-ish%. But 10% will respond. And out of that 10%, maybe another 10% of those, so maybe 1% of the people will actually get on a phone call with you. And if you do a good job asking interesting questions, not generic questions, and you seem really motivated, they may actually ask for your CV or ask for your resume. And from there, you suddenly now are going to be hearing about, you're going to keep up to date with them. You're going to tell them everything you're doing. It could really help you. Got it. Going to sit and do that during the summer and keep you updated with my progress. Awesome tonight. Good to hear. Alvin says there's a CFA equity research challenge coming up in September. Would you advise me to take part, and what might the perks of winning it? Nabil, you want to take that? Since you're a CFA?
And honestly, it depends. It'll set you up real good if you're looking for an ER kind of role, because you'll have experience. It'll give you a good experience of what an equity research looks like from the buy side. I think that's what the competition is about. And yeah, for those of you who have not seen a report, who have not worked on one or whatever, this will give you a whole process. Like, how does it work? You'll get to sit with stakeholders too, depending on your chapter, like the company you're analyzing. So you'll know how that works too. How do you reach out to people? So it's good experience overall. But again, what are you looking to do with it? Like, you can get all these certifications, but if you don't want to be an ER, like you want to be part of all this, you could spend that time networking if you're looking for IB, so like what exactly are you looking for matters more there. Like, you could have a ton of stuff that you could do, but like time's limited, right? So you gotta use it in the best possible way. So that's the question. Is that the best thing you could do in that time? Then yeah, definitely. If not, like, what else do you have to do? And like Patrick said, like, if you want to go networking takes time, by the way. It takes a lot of your time. Even though it looks easy, like, oh yeah, I'm going to send connection requests, getting down to coffee chats, arranging stuff, all of that takes a lot of time. Following up with people, making sure you're like up to date, because it's not enough to just send it's important to stay organized, have like a proper Excel chart, maintain it. It's not just randomly sending connection requests and forgetting about it, and then once they accept, what did you do with that? And then following up, even if they don't reply, right? Like, each follow-up increases the response rate. And who knows, like, one person responding back might be the career-changing response. So you got to follow up. So yeah, that's time consuming too. So it depends, honestly. Like, what do you want to use your time on? If you think you can do like that plus this, like, awesome. If these are the two things you want to work on, or like if that's the only thing you want to work on, awesome. But like, only you can decide for yourself, honestly, depending on where you want to head.
Yeah, my goal is for all of you coming out of this internship and doing all these calls is that when you get access to the free courses, ideally ones on like the investment banking interview course or private equity interview course, and the networking course comes along with that, please don't ignore the networking course. There's templates in there. It's super valuable. It's like the most important life skill, and it ties in. If you do 50 calls with investment banking professionals before your investment banking interview, you're just going to be so much more well-versed in terms of what to expect and how to speak in the lingo and everything. You're just going to sound more intelligent. You're going to sound more like a better fit for the job. And that's for anything, not just investment banking, equity research, even if you're going to Big Four, transaction advisory services, anything. Nabil, I think how do you say your name? Azor Chukwa says, can we get an Excel template to the networking process?
Yeah, I think it's there on the site. I'll get it up. Yeah. Plus, or you'll also get it as part of the interview course too. So you get it both ways. I'll just put that on my to-do list and share.
There's another comment here that I think is important. Do you have any opinions on search funds and working there as an intern? I think it looks good if you are targeting the buy side and private equity funds. It looks like you're trying to get some experience. So I think it is a positive to your CV. Not as good as working at an actual fund that has committed capital. But yeah, it'll give you a little bit of a sense of like how people are looking at deals, how they're looking at specific sub-industries, what makes a good potential deal, what doesn't, stuff like that. And then just getting into the process of like seeing how banks are marketing their companies and stuff like that. So I think it's helpful because you probably are going to get exposed to a lot of relevant stuff that you'd be doing at any sort of typical private equity fund, not just a search fund. And then you also mentioned you can also make equity research reports of your own, like pick a stock and make a report every 2 to 3 months. You can send it to various industry people and get some valuable feedback along with connecting with them. That's also a good tip, especially if you're looking to go to like hedge funds or equity research.
Yeah. I mean, you could even put like financial models. You can do all that stuff and put on LinkedIn. I've seen like a few people do it, and it's always a hit because everyone's like, oh, share this, and then you get into touch with those professionals. But it's very few people doing it. So I think it's a good time to start if you haven't. Because I think that's a new avenue again to network and have a conversation, right? Like
it's just hard because a lot of like people don't have the skills to
that's
do
the
it
thing.
and to
So
do it well. And so like you got to show off once you have it, and to get
yeah,
it.
once you finish these courses like that we give, then you could start doing models. You could use it and for like we do have examples, like real life examples. You could use it with something else, right? Don't use the same example that we use, but like use it elsewhere and then see what how do you interpret it, like what do you think it is, etc. Put all those comps, spread the models, get and then share it. Like people are going to say, oh, this person knows how to model, there you go. And then if you keep doing that, then like one is the push, right? Like you're going to push for connection, one is the pull. This happens to be the pull part of marketing, where people come to you for content rather than you going elsewhere and like pushing stuff and saying, hey, connect with me. This is the other way around. People will be asking you to connect. So that's
see, is it possible to get some more courses during our internship? Today, I think with 7 courses, you're getting a ton. I think you're getting almost all the main ones you would need for any career. So yeah. No worries, investment banker. So I think for there are other questions around investment banking, private equity, hedge funds, careers. My experience is obviously skewed towards the US since I grew up. I did my banking stint at Rothschild in New York and then did 4 years in private equity. So I'm a little bit biased and I don't know as much as from the European side, but I've interviewed and talked with enough bankers and private equity and finance pros from all around the world that I know just enough to be dangerous. So yeah, if there's any other questions, and maybe we'll call it. If not, hi Trung. Sorry, we're near the end of the call, but we'll have a recording go up. Anything else, Nabil? Anything you want to close on?
no, I think that's about it, right? Yeah.
I hope that was helpful for everybody. Thanks for all the questions for the people who joined. We'll be do the courses come with certification? Yes, they come with certificate with completion once you get through them and you pass the assessment. So yes, you will have that. Thanks to you tonight. And everybody will be back on next week. This recording or the one from the previous week, I'll get it posted to the group chat. So if you guys want to watch that one as well, it was a pretty fun, lively discussion last week as well. So enjoy, and thanks again so much for all your hard work. And we will talk in 1 week.
Yep.
Bye.
Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. And thanks to you, my listeners at Wall Street Oasis. If you have any suggestions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to send them my way, Patrick@wallstreetoasis.com. Until next time.